the turn of our Malik Saab. Let me give some introduction about you. Please permit me, sir. Lt.Genl, Lt.Genl Dr. Niranjan Singh Malik, PVSM. PVSM is very important because Paramavishishta Seva medal is generally given, the highest medal given only to generals. But here is a Lieutenant General who got that for his commanding. We are very happy to know that General PVSM Malik Saab, 80 years young Indian Army veteran, 80 years young Indian Army veteran, born in a village in UP in a farmer, army plus political family, studied at military college Dehradun, joined National Defence Academy, later on passing out from the Indian Military Academy, commissioned into 4 Horse, a prestigious tank regiment of Indian Army, had occupied and handled positions of prominence and rose to the rank of Deputy Chief of Army in 1996, associated with DRDO with Abdul Kalam in developing, designing and handing over Arjun tank to Indian Army. Contested as a BJP candidate, maybe he fell ill, otherwise he would have gone with thumping majority, sir, and he just missed it, but he has no regrets because he feels that winning or losing doesn't matter for him. Just as in army, he is army man. Educational qualification wise, BA Punjab University, MSc Defence Studies, and from Madras University, and PhD in Defence Studies from Meerut University, all with distinction. And many landmarks, Fauj Military Academy, Moscow training, advisor to Iraqi Ministry of Defence, Director of Defence Services of Staff College at Wellington, Nilgiris. Post-retirement, he doesn't like to be called retired. He is retired but not tired. BJP Intellectual Cell, National Prabhari Security Cell, Chairman Conclave of Defence Services Veterans, Sanchalak Vivekananda Kendra, Delhi, Chairman International College of Security Studies, Delhi, Chairman Jeevan Rakshan Samiti, trained about 70,000 responders. 70,000 responders. And now we are all concerned with is the working president of our Sanskrit Gaurav Sansthan. Sir, we request you to speak to us.
Dignitaries on the dais and in the hall. It's a great privilege and honor that you've given me to be here and given your valuable time to listen to me. A very important subject we are discussing today. As you say, India, a nation in transition. On this, you asked me to speak on security, national security. Being an army man, automatically it comes to somebody's mind to say it is best to speak to on this subject, and that though there is no doubting the fact that we also today part of the nation and we understand other things, political and other aspect. Now, first question that is to be understood is, what is national security? Sorry. Thank you. What is national security? Security of the nation from what? From all angles, from external threat and internal chaos and confusion. That is the basic part of it in 2 angles, 2 places. What does the external threat or external challenges come into play, it has everything that comes to mind, including us sitting here is a part of national security in one way or the other, wherever you wish to do. Anything starting with economics, political, that is governance at various levels, right down to the village and the town. Diplomatic, our relationship with other countries, how they are with us. Then socio-cultural, with all that into this. Along with that comes various other aspects like food security, economic security, environmental aspects of it, and anything and everything that you think of. That's a part of national security. And we all have to be are a member and part of it, because it concerns each one of us. Now, as far as external security is concerned, I'll confine myself only to the threats and how we are today from the days when we started. But before that, I'd like to say what period we're talking of the transition. Actually, if you look back, it was on 23rd October 1943 that the provisional government of Free India was announced and made by Netaji Subhash Bose at Singapore. That actually started the transition. From there we started moving towards our independence, we started moving towards our further actions. Some or the other that has been put behind, hidden from us, not known to anybody. It's only a few of us who get together every 23rd October or on 13th January to celebrate these events to a certain extent. There is a memorial in Manipur, Moirang Memorial. I don't know how many of us know this. But that is where the first Indian flag was hoisted by the Azad Hind Fauj when it came and along with the Japanese into Manipur and attacked to free Imphal and Kohima, which were under the Britishers at that time being controlled by them. They didn't succeed. That's a different matter. And they were all taken prisoners. The British wanted to make an example of it. 3 of them were selected, a Colonel Prem Sehgal, a Colonel Shahnawaz Khan, and a Colonel Gurbakhsh Dhillon, a Hindu, a Muslim, and a Sikh. And they were tried by a court-martial in the Red Fort. This was the end of 1945 and early 46. And that is where the transition started. With that court-martial, the nation was awake. Gandhiji had already done enough work to make the country aware of the fact that we need independence. We need to go beyond this. And that was the Chingari was lit by this court-martial. The whole nation was ablaze, and we wanted the British out. Independence was asked for. These 3 were sentenced to life imprisonment by the court, but standing by the side of the court was ADC to the Commander-in-Chief, who was number 2 in those days to the Viceroy, who said, as per the authority vested in the Commander-in-Chief, your punishment is annulled, you are free to go. The 3 of them didn't know where to go, because they expected that they would be, either hanged or sent to jail. And the whole country said at that time They are patriots. They are the ones who fought for India's independence. They are the ones who got us independence. And the thing that happened was an effect on the Indian Army, the British Indian Army, what we called at that time, was to say the whole country is saying they are patriots. They fought for India, and we fought against them. Then what are we? We are traitors? Or we are slaves of the British? Perhaps we did something wrong. The result of that was a mutiny in Bombay, when the Navy mutinied. 4 to 5 ships of the Navy sailed out and refused to obey orders. Karachi, again the Navy mutinied, and the para division which was stationed there also mutinied. I know that very closely because my father was involved in that. He was a paratrooper himself who jumps with the paratroop. And then the best part of it was Jabalpur, where the complete garrison mutinied and refused to offer their officers. They imprisoned their British officers and said, we will not accept any more British domination. The result was, that is the time, of course, Churchill had gone by then, and Lord Clement Attlee had been the Prime Minister of Britain. It was decided to go out of India. Simply, at that time, later on, this was confirmed by Lord Clement Attlee himself when he came to India. He was staying at Calcutta with the governor, and the governor asked him 2 questions. The first one was, after 1931, when Bhagat Singh and his comrades had been hanged, there was no movement in India for independence. You'll be surprised. There wasn't. The only one was in 1942, so-called Quit India movement, where he said, before the movement even took off, you would put everybody behind bars and the movement was no movement. It never really went anywhere, it just flipped out. Then why did you run away? You had won the war, you had everything with you, every kind of thing. And the answer he gave was, one simple answer, we lost the trust of the Indian Army. The instrument with which we were controlling India is no more with us. It is impossible for us to stay here. And they decided that time to immediately send Lord Mountbatten in 47 March. He came down, and the instruction to him was to get out as early as possible, but by 30th June 1948. That was the date given for India's independence. And that is also the time the British decided to partition India, to destroy India. They said, before we leave, we're going to leave Khandar yahan par. And so they got all that and wanted to dismember India, make Pakistan at that time. Unfortunately, Congress party, which was actually the main party in India at that time, decided to commit harakiri. And what was the harakiri? In 1939, the war started, Second World War. And when the war started on 3rd September, the British declared war on Germany and said Britain and its territories, that is colonies, including India, are at war with Germany. Now perhaps rightly or wrongly, whatever it was, the Congress asked a question, why India? We are not with you. We don't want to go to war with Germany. We have no enmity to Germany. But it had been done, and so the Congress decided to resign. They were in command, or they were ruling 8 provinces out of 11 at that time in India. The 3 provinces that were not ruled by the Congress was Sindh and Bengal, which was the Muslim League. Punjab was with the Unionist Party, where Sikandar Hayat Khan Tiwana as the Prime Minister, Sir Chotu Ram as his Finance Minister, and Sardar Baldev Singh, another minister. And they said, we have nothing to do with all this, what is happening on. They didn't allow the Muslim League to ever function from there. That was in the 46 that was happening, and 45. But incidentally, Northwest Frontier Province was with the Congress, with Frontier Gandhi and Dr. I forget his name now. He was Prime Minister at that time of the province, really as such. And we, somehow or the other, gave full chance now to the British to rule India without what they had done in 1935, the Government of India Act, through which elections were held in 36, and the Congress had come to power in these 8 provinces. Now we handed over those 8 provinces to the Britishers, governors, and Muslim League had a full-fledged, wherever what they wanted to do and whatever they wanted to do. The British encouraged them, and the whole complex changed. The complex changed to that extent that now Pakistan was absolutely certain to come, and India was to be partitioned. Unfortunately, the youth, you and me, who have also been through all that, know nothing about it. This is all hidden. There is nowhere in history, there is nowhere in anything that just comes out. But if you go into a little bit of research, do this. I had the opportunity to read a book, and if some of you get a chance, do that, please. It's known as The Untold Story of Partition, by a gentleman called Narendra Singh Sarila. He was a prince of one of the states from Madhya Pradesh and was ADC to Lord Mountbatten. Then later he was with the Foreign Service and did a lot of study in the archives, where he gives out all this and puts it out onto us. That is where our problem started, because now we had a Pakistan to deal with. Our security was now dependent on somebody else's coming into it. The British were supporting them totally. The Americans were not very supportive. The Americans never wanted India to be partitioned. In fact, they had been insisting on the Britishers to give independence to India even during the war. They said, then they will be better with us if you do that. But somehow the Churchill was there, and he was one man who just refused to accept anything. In fact, incidentally, his very famous saying was that to give freedom to India is to subjugate so many million people, because there will be no governance of any kind. Corrupt and dishonest people will come to power, and they will work for themselves and not for the country. I have said it in a little short, but it's a long one that is put down into this. And unfortunately, Sarila puts down, he says, the unfortunate part is that his saying has come true. Now, basically, that is what we started with Pakistan attacking us. We have fought 4 wars with Pakistan. 47, 48, 65, 71, 99. In all 4, we had the upper hand. Initially, the first two, 47, 48. We were not really that way because the Pakistan had occupied large parts of Jammu and Kashmir. When we were able to push them back, a great mistake was again made. I don't call it a mistake, it's a blunder. That happened was India decided to go to the United Nations and said, we have been attacked. But under clause 6 of the UN, which said a disputed area has been attacked, we made Jammu and Kashmir disputed area ourselves, and not our area being attacked, which is under clause 7. And with the result, this whole thing has continued right across from that portion, that point. Somehow or the other we managed whatever we are able to grab, or rather take back from the Pakistanis to that extent, which is with us. And a ceasefire was declared, and we sit now on the line of ceasefire, whatever that be. I'll come to the point whether we can redo this or can right this wrong that was done at that time. In 65, surprisingly, we were much weaker than Pakistan as an army man. I had joined the army in 1959, and by 65, one was quite senior to understand things. I was in a tank unit, and you would be surprised to know we had only 4 regiments of tanks, which is about 200 tanks, which were capable of meeting the pattern tank of the Pakistanis. Because Pakistan in 1958 had gone in cooperation with America as a part of CENTO and SEATO, and got aid from there, military aid. And at that time, this question was asked in Parliament, Pakistan is getting all this aid. What is India doing? In Parliament, this question was asked. To which Pandit Nehru replied, we have spoken to the Americans, and they have told us these tanks will not be used against you. Pray, who will they be used against? Afghanistan, or Russia, or America, or whom? Yet we accepted that. And there was no more talk and no more concern on it. We did not increase anything in our army. We remained the same way. The Pakistanis got 11 regiments of pattern, while we had these 4 regiments of centurions. Besides that, we had another 11 regiments, which were of the old World War II equipment, not up to the mark. Our aircraft was nowhere near what the F-86 was of the Americans and F-104 of the Americans. Yet, we fought it out, because there was a Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who gave us that leadership, who told us to be. He did not hesitate in the least bit. The Pakistan aim was to attack in Jammu and Kashmir. They attacked a place called Chamjauria, which was in Jammu and Kashmir, which meant this is a disputed area. We can attack this way, that way, not problem. But the Prime Minister at that time took a decision, no, we will attack Pakistan. And we attacked Lahore, and we attacked at Khemkaran, and we attacked Sialkot. And that somehow there's a brought us on par. And we managed to finally finish 65 basically at par. But one major mistake was made at that time, and this was unfortunately the Shastriji himself, who at Tashkent, we had taken in Jammu and Kashmir a place called Haji Pir Pass, which overlooks Islamabad. Long guns could fire onto Islamabad. We had captured that. It also connected our Uri to Poonch. and cut out all the distance that one has to go. If I had to go from Poonch to Uri, I had to come back to Jammu, Jammu to Srinagar, Srinagar to Baramulla, and then reach Uri on that side. While that became only a 60 kilometers line. Yet, at Tashkent, under what circumstances, don't ask me, he gave away Hajipir. He returned that. And that has remained today major sore place from which infiltration takes place of terrorists and others into Jammu and Kashmir, unfortunately. 71 was a great victory for India. And this victory, frankly remember, was because the Bengalis were with us. The Bangladesh, what became Bangladesh at that time, East Pakistan, was totally up in arms, and we helped them. Of course, we went in, and on the west, in West Pakistan, we held them up. We did not really attack with that aim to do something to Pakistan. And we did this. That time we captured, as you know, 93,000 prisoners. This was the second most large prisoner captured after World War II, when at Stalingrad the Russians had captured the Germans at that time. And Shimla happened, where Bhutto came and had negotiations with Indira Gandhi ji. And what came to, who it happened, why it happened, we gave away 93,000 prisoners. On the platter, without any change of anything. Our 54 prisoners which were taken during that war are still surviving somewhere or dead or whatever happened to them. Nobody knows. We didn't get them back. But that's not only the prisoners' part. But we gave away those 93,000 people. What, when you could have made Pakistan kneel down on your knees and said, please, for heaven's sake, take what you want, do what you want. Because in Punjab, which was bulk of the prisoners from there, they were uproar. Get our people back, get our people back. And Bhutto didn't know what to do. He came and pleaded with Indira Gandhi ji, and she accepted. What kind of a diplomacy India played, what kind of a, we as army men could never believe it, and we felt terribly let down, frankly telling you. We always felt that for heaven's sake, what kind of a bloody government have we got that does not stand on it, tell the bloody person on the other side. 99 he attacked us again, but fortunately Vajpayee ji was in the Prime Minister and in power. Sorry, I am taking a little time. I hope you don't mind. And Bhutto went, Nawaz Sharif ran to America when they were now being thrown out from the Kargil heights. And he said, please mediate and get our people back. We don't want to fight anymore. So the American president at that time, I think it was Nixon, if I remember correctly, I don't know, he sent a message to Vajpayee ji to say, come over, we'll sit down and sort the problem out. To which the reply of that Prime Minister was, when my country is at war, I don't go to mediate with anybody. If anybody wants to mediate, he can come to me in Delhi. That was the leadership which needed to be earlier and stand up. Frankly, we in the army have always looked at it this way: what is national security, or whichever way you want to put it, is if somebody attacks you on the street, what do? You protect yourself. with your arms, with your legs, running around, kicking him or doing whatever it is from that point. And or if you got a danda or something in your hand with that. Where does the power come to do that? From your body. If you are strong, you'll be able to do it more or hit him harder. Where does the thing comes to tell you, no, fall back now, now go for him, now hit him on the right, now hit him on the left? Comes from your brain. And the overall part of it, the spirit, to say to hell with you, I'll bloody well, tu mere ko attack karta hai, I'll maro you back. That comes from the gurda. The willpower to fight. The country exactly the same. The arms and legs is your sword, the armed forces. Remember, they act and do what the brain tells them to do. Exactly like your hands and arms will do. Where does the power come from? You, me, the whole country. It's the country that stands behind and says, no, fight, do this, sort him out. That's what it comes to. And of course, overall, the will is when everyone gets up and says, to hell with it, we are going to sort everybody out. We will not stand up. What happened at Balakot and what happened at Uri. That is what comes to mind when the willpower comes into play. So, the nation needs to think that and look at it from that angle. Now coming to China. Our second threat is China. Not second, but actually the first threat. The most important threat. Number one enemy has been called China. They attacked us in 62. Unfortunately. Yes, first punch somebody hits you, you fall back. But it's after that you have to go back for him. We did fall back. Our army had a setback because we didn't have an army. I don't know how many of you know, in Parliament, Panditji had said, and it's written on the note which the Commander-in-Chief had sent to Pandit Nehruji at that time, to say we need to strengthen the army, we need to put more things and take our borders and things like that into consideration. He put on that rubbish, total rubbish. We have no enemies. We are a peace-loving country. We don't need an army. The police is good enough. It's there, actually in the Parliament papers. And that is the time the army was really at its lowest that you can think of. That point. Now, after that setback, we didn't stand up to fight. We just gave up. The Chinaman had to go back. He declared ceasefire. Great person. I declare ceasefire and I'm going back. And he from Assam, or rather Arunachal Pradesh today at that time frontier, and Nifa, he pulled back. A number of times one asks, wasn't there anybody at that time thinking in the government or in anywhere else to say why he's gone back? Because this was November. In December or January the snow would have come to that extent and all passes in the Himalayas closed. And all those troops of his who were this side of the Himalayas would have died there. Or they could have become a simple, sitting duck for the Indian army. But we just accepted that. I don't know how many of you remember or know that on 26 January 1963, at the Republic Day parade, Lata Mangeshkar sang a song. "Ae mere watan ke logo, jara aankh mein bhar lo pani," and all that. And Panditji had said, "Beta, tumne to hame rula diya." Yes, but please remember, you don't cry for a shaheed. शहीद के लिए आंसू नहीं बहाए जाते, शहीद के लिए खड़े होके बोलते हैं, this was the man, this was the president, this was the army. You stand up and encourage that. You needed to sing that other song of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, where it said, "Kadam kadam बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है देश की, तो देश पर मिटाए जा." That is what the nation needed on that day, and not the other way around. Unfortunately, we just did not stand up to the Chinaman. Yes, one thing did happen, that we started building up our army to a certain extent. Now, coming to the point is, where do we stand today? Where is the transition in which India is today? Today, the armed forces of India is the fourth largest in the world and the third strongest. Please remember that. The Chinaman knows it well that Indian army is no more defensive, in the sense that we will not be just sitting there and say, "आ जाओ तुमने अटैक किया, तुम्हें भगा देंगे, वापस चले जाओगे." No. Today, not only we will stop him, but we will attack him back. We have two major strike forces prepared. A 17 corps. A corps is about 40,000-50,000 troops with enough tanks and guns and aircraft and everything of this nature, which is located in, headquarters located in Panagarh. This is open, in publication. I am not saying something confidential out here. And its troops are deployed in Sikkim and in Arunachal Pradesh. And the Chinaman knows it, that he will be struck back heavily and not have anything. Similarly in Ladakh, and Ladakh I am personally into it, because I was asked when I was commanding a tank brigade in Pathankot to first find a way to reach Ladakh with tanks. I did a detailed recce of Rohtang Pass, Barala Chala, Chunla and all these other things, and found no way we could do it. But the Air Force stood up and said, "We will deliver the tanks there." And they landed our tanks in Leh. We extended the airfield a little bit, and they did that part of the thing. Then I was asked to do a recce. Can we use? Where do we use? How do we use? I spent nearly a month along with my other officers doing that part of the thing. And today we have again the same type of force what was at Panagarh in the east at that point, and we are capable of going across. These days we don't think of only defending ourselves, but to say, all right, that road between Xinjiang and Tibet, we'll cut it at so-and-so place and we'll cut it at so-and-so place. That is what the army today against China has come to. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we don't even consider it. It is no good, no match really of any nature. But unfortunately, the other part is the internal security. As you know, as I mentioned to you, there is external security, there is internal security. Internal security is more important than external security. If any country has changed its borders or has been broken up, is because of internal strife. India partition took place because of that strife. Pakistan got divided because of that strife. Okay. Yugoslavia got divided again because of that strife, which is what the danger is all about. We are a country of diverse, religions, languages, customs, traditions, everything's nature. There are elements which are working on it to the extent if somehow or the other they can do this and break up India, what was already mentioned by Dr. Mohandas. Now that is what we have to prevent. And for this, each one of us has to be a soldier in the service of the nation. Every civilian man, I continue to say, or any man who is in civil dress, not in the army, has to consider himself a soldier of the nation and stand up and be counted to make sure that the nation remains safe and we don't fall prey to all this. I will not go into CAA and the other aspects of it, which is what is happening today, chaos leading towards that side, because, thank you sir, because Dr. Asif Iqbal will be speaking on it and the other gentlemen. Well, I'm sorry I've taken a lot of time with you. Been talking of something which perhaps is of a different nature and may not be that it comes very easily to you to be able to relate to it, but that is the reality which one has gone through with a very heavy heart every time to say, why not? And something not happen. But unfortunately, being armed forces, you cannot question anything, you cannot question the government. And that is the saving grace of this country, that the armed forces remain under strict civilian control. Thank you very much.
You need not say sorry, Dr. Malik Saab. We should say sorry for giving you less time, because I know with the exposure experience you had, definitely we need to give you 1 hour. We wish that we will have another occasion where only you will be speaking and giving us the insights of security of our country. Where I think very startling information that I think 93,000 prisoners in exchange for 54, that is also not guaranteed, unfortunate. I think through you, this gathering salutes Indian Army and our leader Modi for what they are doing right now.